Okie dokie. Good morning to anybody in the world. It is Friday, January 27th, and we are going to start streaming shortly. I need to see if I have any comments to reply to today, which I'm pretty sure I do, because it's been a long week. Good morning, Harry. Let's see. So, I'm just going to reply to a couple comments here, which I'm not smart enough to actually oh my gosh, I keep losing my comment section. What's funny is actually I realized the other day that there's an actual messages section on YouTube that I had never noticed before, and I had messages from like a year ago that I didn't even know was there. And I thought that was funny. Let's see, I will look to doing that in the future. So here's a question for anyone, and feel free to comment if you're in the future or comment now. When I publish the YouTube videos, so let's just grab all this crap and throw it over here. I'm pretty sure I'm streaming, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So when I publish the YouTube videos, I generally leave them as is. The date and then daily work on videos. So like this would be the one from Wednesday. And then inside the video itself, I will try to go in and give a description of what we worked on. So if you search for it, it should pull it out of the description. And I try to give people an idea. I've had 2 suggestions so far that I should update the title to indicate what I worked on. Now, I think that's a good idea. So, for example, on something like this, well, actually, this is a good example of a hard one. On this day, I did a basic character selection screen. We did a box rotating, and then we did a quick trip to show how to get audio working with controls. How would I put all 3 of those things in the title? That's my issue. If it's a single day, for example, we created a basic AI, simple. Daily work on creating a basic AI. But when I have multiple things, I can't think of an efficient way of updating the title with it. So if anyone has any good ideas, or if they think I should just make a title that's 500 characters long, yeah, just toss out your ideas on if you think changing the titles to reflect what's in the video would be helpful. Mario, I have tons of things on my agenda at all times, but the number one agenda is helping out people if they have questions. So feel free to ask at any point in time, and we will see what we can do. For anyone asking, though, the agenda today, my thought was we have 4.15 coming out probably next month. The preview 2 just came out the other day, and they're aiming for 4 previews and then the final release. So 3-4 weeks at this point, probably just in time for GDC. So what I'm going to try to do different this time is I'm going to go through the documentation that they've released, and I'm going to go through the editor, try to find things that are new or changed, and then try to time it so that way when 4.15 comes out, I release videos on the new features, like these things, and then changes like things like the small function changes, the node cleanup. So basically, make a video on small changes and then make individual videos covering new features. That's my goal. I'd love to be able to do that, and my plan was to go through the editor and start finding things and notating my list, blah, 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 blah. That was my plan for today. But obviously, I can help out with anyone. So yeah, feel free to ask, Mario. Let's see, Harry, I don't think YouTube indexes description. I guess you could put it at the end of the title. Yes, there was an Unreal stream yesterday. Wait, yesterday was Tuesday. Wait, what's today? Friday. Yeah, on Thursday. Yeah, yesterday was the community stream. And Alexander and... oh, for frick's sake. The name that I can't friggin' think of right now, which boggles my mind. Nick. Alexander and Nick went over 4.15 features and stuff like that. So that got me into the mood of basically updating my list and making it better. So, yeah, so that was my idea. But obviously, ask questions. How would you realize a right-click pop-up menu with sub-menus? That's a good question. let me find my playground. I know for handling a pop-up menu, you'd use the menu anchor. That would be the easiest thing to do. Positioning it would be difficult. UMG is not really meant for emulating something like that. Here, let's see. Let's see if we could do something. Let's see what we can come up with. Because you'd have to have two different things at least. You'd have to have at least your main menu. Not your main menu, your user interface. Let's see, we found new level. We break out new level. Let me save everything. Right click menu. Yeah, we'll go with something like that. And then we'll just, I'm just doing a little bit of prep work here and see what we can come up with. Begin play, create, let's see, no, we're gonna need this inside of our player and our user interface. Where would we be the smartest place to keep this? Because somebody has to talk to the main menu and create the sub menu. Not the main menu, the main screen, and create the sub screen. Let's do it inside the... God, this seems like it would be smart for either the player or the player controller. So either one of those would work. I'm going to grab these and put it in my right-click menu. That way we have them. We'll see about just simply putting it somewhere and go from there. Let's see. Right-click character. Right-click controller. Now I'm doing all three of these. I know I'm going to need at least the game mode, but I don't know if I'm going to need the character or the controller. But I figure it can't hurt to have both of them. There we go. And then my map needs to use the right click. See, hopefully I'm doing it right this time, instead of wondering why 10 minutes later it's not working. There we go, right click. Okay, so we have that. I got a question from Learning Man. He can get his cube moving by pushing down. He can get his cube moving down by pushing a key. I want the cube to push everything under it down too. How to do that? Okay, so the traditional way you'd probably think of is by using physics. The problem is if you're using a movement node, such as a set position, you're not using physics. If you use something like an impulse node, for example, a add force or add impulse, that uses physics. That means anything it hits will then move, assuming you use physics. If you don't want to use physics, if you want to use movement, kind of like a non-physics based game, two boxes next to each other, you push one box, the entire chain moves. You basically have to do something like checking the overlaps. So you push one box towards the other one. It should technically hit it or overlap it. And then when it does that, have the other bottom. Okay, so you'd have something like, here, let's see if I can just drop this in here really quickly. It's going to require coding as the easiest way of thinking about this. Like put this on the ground, put this on the ground. So let's say you had this box and it was up against this one. When you push this box, it should trigger either an overlap or a hit event. I don't know for sure which one's going to fire, but it'll trigger one of those two. When it does, you talk to this box because it's going to be the one that's hit or overlapped, and you'll have to have this one move in the same direction this one moved. They have, where to go? Details, here we go. You do have the, seriously? Oh, I need it on the mesh component, right? Oh, I can't, I'm not in a blueprint, so that's not going to work either. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's a box brush. That's not what I wanted. I wanted something like, yep, there we go. So inside of wherever you have your item, like in this case it's a sphere, you have your events, your overlaps, and your hits. And on like the hit, you can see what hits you, and you can find out where it came from when it hits you. if they're using impulse. So it's going to be a lot of math. If you're not using physics, it's going to be a lot of math. If you are using physics, just add an impulse or a force. That's the basics of it. I can't go into an exact detail right now. Harry has a good idea as well. Do a line trace. Call the same move function on the cube hit to recursively move them. So that's actually a good idea as well. Basically, whenever you move this item, before you move it, for example, you can do a line trace in whatever direction you're moving. Tell the item you hit that it was hit and it should move, and it should probably do a line trace first. So for example, it should line trace, and then it will continue line tracing and then moving, and then the last item basically will move, and then it will go back recursively like he's mentioning. That's a good idea as well. I always forget about faking movement with line traces and things like that. Well, you're technically not faking movement, but you're checking for stuff when you move by using line traces. That's a really good idea. Hopefully that was kind of a good explanation of that one. That one's probably the smarter idea. Just to say it again, hopefully maybe clear. Your movement function basically says, hey, move this some direction. And it works fine. In front of that part that actually moves it, add a line trace. That line trace fires whatever direction you're moving. And if it hits something, it tells that something, hey, move in this direction. Basically the same code you used to move this. So when this thing gets that code to move, it's going to go, okay, I was told to move. Let me line trace forward. Tell whatever I hit to move forward, and then I'm going to move forward. And you'll basically end up line trace, line trace, line trace. It'll stop somewhere. That last item will move forward, move forward, move forward, move forward. It'll look like everything moves at once, but I mean, you're basically going to fire it off in that kind of an order. You might have a slight issue with processing in order, but yeah, like Harry is mentioning, the function can return a bool whether it moved or not, so that way when we hit the wall, the entire chain fails and doesn't move. Yep. Harry's got some good ideas on that one. If you're still stuck after a while learning, let me know. We'll see if maybe we can fire up something quick and cheap and easy. But for now, let me see if I can go back to the right-click menu. It's something in UMG which is going to be fun to implement. Let's just have our character handle the right-click, because it's probably the easiest way of doing it. So let me get rid of all this stuff. Begin play. I've never actually tried anything like this, so this should be interesting. But we want to do this, so we have, wasn't it right click? Was it click? I know it was UI. What the hell did I call it? Huh. Oh, just UI. Well, that was horribly named yet again. Okay, let's actually name it properly. There we go. Here's my right-click UI. And then from up to variable, and then add to viewport. Nothing should show up, but this is what we want, right? This is our main, we'll just call this one player UI. Because that's what this is. And just to make sure it's working, oops, that's the pop-up menu. Here's the player UI. Let's just add an image to it to make sure it's working. There we go. Okay, so we've got an image, so that's what works good. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a UI only mode, so that way we can work with just the UI. This, and that should give us just the UI. There we go. So just the UI, just the image. Okay, so we're good there. So we'll get rid of this. Now what we need to do is we need to capture basically when we right click on here somewhere. Now right now if I was to go into here and right click. See, no, actually I guess I didn't technically need to do this in the player. But anyways, if you right click in here with the mouse, it's not really going to do anything because you can't capture events. So we can either listen for an event in the player and pass it over to our UI, or we can just override the mouse button down. I'm thinking we'll do that one, just to make it easy. And we should be able to... where's the stupid... No, seriously? Wait, yeah, that's the one I want, right? I want the key event, dang it. Because I want to be able to cast an equal to. No, maybe it was the pointer event. Get affecting button, that's what I wanted. I knew it was in here somewhere. It's horribly named, but this should tell us if it's the right mouse button or not. We return handled just to be safe. And let's print string to make sure we're good. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And left click nothing, right click nothing. Okay, so this is kind of what I expected. So we should actually be fine here. We don't have anything actually intercepting the mouse. By default, our canvas panel should be set to self hit test invisible. That means it doesn't accept input. Now, if we set it to visible, I believe this should work. I can't remember how it'll work with alpha transparency though. Yeah, okay, so it'll work fine. So now basically the entire canvas panel is accepting input. We can see true and false here, right? It's true when it's right mouse. Let me turn my light source on to movable because it's starting to annoy me. So I don't get that error, okay. Yeah, so yeah, in case you didn't know, by default, the canvas panel, or your default panel, is going to be set to self hit test invisible. That means it basically doesn't accept hit testing. So mouse key, it's not going to detect any input basically by default. We set it to visible, it'll go ahead and accept any input. So it will technically override, it'll accept everything. The game itself won't take anything. So now we know we have a right mouse button clicked here. Let's try. Oh, I don't know why I deleted the F, because we're going to need the... Oh, I didn't have an if there. That would be why. I was just testing. Okay. So, we're going to want to handle it if it is true, because that means we're going to make something. If not, we're going to return back unhandled. So something else has the ability to... Something else has the ability to handle this event. So this should be fine for a false branch. We'll leave it like that. So in terms of true, let's just see if we can get something on the screen and then put it into place. We're going to create the right-click menu. So that'll be fine there. Let's actually put something in our right-click pop-up menu. So let's just have an image show up. So we're going to drop an image in here. We're going to... we don't want a canvas panel. We want... see, so this is where your issue is going to come in on how you're going to design your menu. It could for... Actually, let's do something really simple. Let's make a vertical box, and we'll add things to the vertical box. And that should give us an expected result. I don't know if you'll be able to actually click on any of this stuff, but let's just see what happens here. I know that there's an example in the inventory UI that is on the official Unreal channel where they kind of do something like this, where it's a pop-up menu, but it's not really at the mouse location. But let's just see what happens here. We're just going to try stuff right now. And we'll do an image box. We'll make sure the vertical box should be set to everything. The image is set to everything. Okay. So I have a feeling this isn't going to give me my exact result, but we'll worry about that in a second. For now, we'll go ahead and create our right-click menu. And then we will add to parent, which means I need to get the parent, which is ourself. So let's see, we need to get the canvas panel, make it a variable. I can't call it main UI. We'll call it main UI. So we're going to grab the main UI. We're going to cast it, not cast, slot. Slot is canvas panel. It's canvas slot. This will basically give us the parent as a canvas slot. Then we'll add, it just add, right? Seriously, you're not, it's add child, right? Add child should have worked. This is a canvas slot. Add child to canvas. Okay, apparently we have to do add child to canvas. Which... Okay, well, that's what we need to do. That is highly annoying. Sometimes it works one way, sometimes it doesn't. But it should be that, like that. So that should add it. And I don't believe by default it'll be visible, but let's find out. My guess would not be. I also don't think we have... Okay, let's put something in here just to be safe. Because right now I don't think we have this working properly. Let's just actually get something showing up. Okay, yeah. I don't think it's going to be added. Because just because you add it doesn't mean... I don't think it's going to be visible. No, add to viewport. Yeah, this should work. Okay, let's do a... Oh, I'm also not returning, so that really doesn't help. That may have been an issue too. Okay, we're still not getting anything. Guys, working with UMG, especially when you're working with children and parents and adding things, can be a giant pain in the rear end. So let's try something simple here. We're gonna go ahead and create this, and we're not gonna add it to here for now. We're gonna add to viewport just to see if we can get it on the screen. And we can't, so that's definitely not working. Yeah, my thought was whether it was in the viewport or not. This is definitely not firing up like it should. My biggest issue is technically if we were... yeah, see, technically it should spawn itself at that size. If we were spawning this in. That's what I was double checking. Let's, the nice thing is we can really easily create, double check and make sure this is working as well. Because we might be going through a lot of trouble for something that's simply not working at this point. Okay, that is what should be working right there. If we add that to our viewport. So we know that there should be something inside of our screen if this is working properly. Okay, so we know that. No, so I have a feeling it's got to do with the fact that with how it's set up, I hate doing this. See. Yeah, we technically, right here, we added it the same way I did it in here, right? Create, add, ignore the input mode, but create and add, the right click, create and add. Yeah, so that should have handled it. Let's try something else. Begin play, which turns into construct. Let's try just simply right-clicking. I hate working on this stuff. I love UMG, but the way this is set up, it causes an issue. The mouse button should be firing. It was before, so I'm assuming it still is, which is why I'm going to try something like this. Let's see if we can just simply get this working in the create script. And then we can work on... Okay, so there we go, in the top left corner. We definitely have something there. And that's that one right there. It's adding it. And it's gonna, because it's probably set at 0, 0, is why it's not showing up. But the point is we do have something showing up. There we go. Wow, that was weird. Oh, that's trippy. Okay, so... Interesting. Maybe my right mouse click isn't firing anymore. You might be right on that one. Oh, son of a... I set it back to self-hit test invisible. Son of a gun. Ha! Well, yeah, that was smart. Okay, so now, there we go, look at that. Son of a bitch. Okay, so, assuming you actually do the code right, it should work the first time. So we have been making this work properly. We just have been doing it really poorly. So there we go. Now it's on the screen up there. It's not sized properly. It's not set up properly, but it is adding it like we expected to. So that's what counts. That was just really silly. So now that we have this, let's see. This is our child. We're going to create a reference to it. Oops, we're going to promote to variable. Yep, good call on that one, Harry. It would probably help if I double check things after I screwed around. Okay, so now we should have a reference to it because we're going to want to resize it. That's what I want to do right now. But I'm going to, let's set its position. So let's see, we want get mouse position scaled by DPI. I guess that'll work. And then we're going to, this is why we wanted to slot, duh. This is what, yeah. We have to grab our pop-up menu, which is now part of the child, which is a child of the canvas slot. Then we slot it, and then we set its position right here. And we'll see about setting its position to our mouse. That was not what I meant to do. I meant to split. There we go. Oops. We'll see about that. There we go. So now we have a right-click menu. Well, we have something popping up, basically. The add child node returns a slot already. Yep. But then I'd have to, well, I guess if I technically set the variable here, it would work. Probably, right? Yeah. So I guess I'd have to set the variable after this, or I could plug it in here. There's lots of things we could do. But you're correct on that one. This returns the canvas slot. Unfortunately, this is just still the widget. So if I reversed it, it would work. But then what if I need to move this? Well, what if I want to destroy this? I don't want the I don't want the canvas panel slot. I want the original item to destroy. Which actually I want to do right here. Now that we mention it. Actually, I'm curious about that. That is a good question. If we destroy the slot reference, will it destroy the actual widget? I don't know. That was a local variable. That was not what I meant either. I am doing fantastic with aiming for variables today. Come on. Okay, so this would be the pop-up menu slot reference. So we'll go with that. And then what I wanted to do was, let's try this now. This should be remove. Yeah, see, you can't, I don't think I'll be able to remove the, if I have just the slot reference, I can't remove it from the parent. Yeah, so see, so that would be nice, but the problem is if I want to remove it, like in this case, it won't work. But I don't think it'll bother us for, yeah, no, you're good on that one, but I'd have to do something like this. You know, it's not going to hurt to keep two references, right? Let's just say it's not going to hurt to use two references and we'll keep two variables. That works. Nope, that'll work. We'll do that. We'll keep a slot reference and we'll keep a variable reference like that. Okay. So my thought here is basically we're going to remove the new item whenever we right click. See, so now we have only one being displayed. So that was the first goal. So now, whoops. Let's see what error we're getting. Oh, I'm calling a remove from parent on an item that doesn't exist because I'm a dum-dum. We have valid checks for a reason. Always use your valid checks, because if you don't use your valid checks, stuff stops working properly. Okay, so if we have a valid one, we're going to go ahead and remove it from the screen. If not, we're just going to go ahead and create it, and we're going to create it anyway, so we'll just, you know, do something like this. Yep, so that'll work. Okay, so Now we should get no error. We should get one on the screen. Okay, good. We're putting somewhere. Technically, we have a pop-up menu at this point in time. We honestly have one. We just don't have it doing anything. We don't have it sized properly. It's not set to size to content. So technically at this point, it would probably be smarter to make a function to do everything. The right click simply creates it. The function here populates it. So I think I'm going to do that because I like putting things in functions. We're going to call this one populate right click menu. It could be create right click menu. It could be whatever the hell we want, to be honest. But I'm going to call it populate. And where'd my stupid mouse go? There we go. We're simply going to populate it in there. So we'll still set the position, and then we'll call populate right click. And that way this should be clean at this point. And then this node is simply going to put stuff in it. Good morning, Mohammed. Or evening, or afternoon, or space-time. So good time of the day. We'll go with that one. So here's a right-click menu. The first thing you might notice is the fact that we're not seeing our text. My guess would be because we don't have this thing set to where to go. I gotta stop clicking on. Okay, let me close the character. Let me go back into here. I gotta stop clicking on stuff. And the problem, my guess is we don't have this thing set to size to content. Would be my guess. So let's set the size to content right. Okay, that's the getter. Can't we set that? Why can I not set that? Is it called auto size? Why the hell is it called get? Okay, seriously, because it's right friggin'. This is what I'm talking about right here. When we add something in here, we have the size to content. Okay, it's called auto size. Okay, that's fantastically named. It's called size to content one place and auto size the other place. Super duper. Set auto size. And hopefully that is the proper one. We'll find out here in a second. There we go. So now we have the text. So now it'll auto size to whatever we put into it. That is horribly named. I think someone should change that. So all that matters at this point is we have our pop-up menu actually do something appropriate. So we have a couple different options. We can create, you know what? We don't have a couple different options. We have one option that I'm going to do because this is the way I want to do it. Widget blueprint, and this will be a right-click option. And I know it seems really stupid to keep doing multiple widgets, but it gives us more variety. Get rid of the canvas panel. We're going to set up a border because that'll autofill basically. And then we'll put a button inside the border, which technically I could have put a button. You know, let's just put a button. We'll just put a button. Well, we can rechange this. That's what's nice. We'll put a button. We'll put some text on the button. We'll set the text to be centered. We'll set the button to fill our slot. So it should work like we expected. It should give us this. We'll give our text a little bit of padding around the outside like that. Yeah. We are going to call this one this button. And this is probably where we're going to have to set up an event dispatcher system or a callback system, but we'll figure that one out here in a little bit. We'll call it this text. Yeah, because we're going to have to set up an ID system for talking back and forth. But we'll figure it out. I think that'll be fun. This is actually kind of like creating a calculator, except it's a pop-up calculator. That's what's funny about this. And that's a variable there. We will... This is the sucky part about this. And this is something I wish it could be changed, but it can't be. Variables can't... Well, not variables. Widgets, when you make them variables, can't be exposed on spawn. You actually have to set them separately, which is kind of annoying. So we have to make a text variable. And then expose that and then set that once we do it, which is annoying. But or I mean, I guess technically we'll do it both ways. So this is kind of like what I want to do here. So we have our text here, and then if we grab our text here and we bind it to our input text, now whatever we set that text to should show up, which is what we care about. Now we go to our pop-up menu. This one is we're gonna empty it back out because all our pop-up menu is simply gonna hold stuff. And this will be our pop-up menu box is what we're gonna call it, because we're gonna need to reference that. We'll go back to our right-click UI and we'll populate. So at this point, we have our pop-up menu slot, which is this one. And then we're gonna wanna add a child to it, which of course it's not going to. No, not the, see, that's the pop-up menu slot, which isn't the actual pop-up. Okay, so this is, because we need to get the, what did we call that? We called it the pop-up menu box. Like that. So that'll get us the box, and then we're going to add a child to that, to the vertical box. And then we're going to add a, son of a bitch, I have to create it. This is so annoying. We'll eventually loop over this here in a second. I understand the reason for this. It's just slightly annoying. Of course, there's a bunch of options, so that doesn't help. There we go. But now we have our input text here, which was the goal of that. That's why we exposed that, so we have the input text. And then we're going to add this. So in theory, when I right-click, we should get one option that says option 1. I don't know if it's going to be sized right. Okay, so it's sized like I told it to. There we go. So we have a right-click menu. So technically, we could, you know, let's just do a for loop. Don't need a for loop each. I just want to slap a couple things onto here. And we're going to go from 1 to 4. And then, let's see, format text. And then this will be option, open thingy, num, close thingy. Slap the number in here. I'm just doing this so we have, you know, 4 different looking things. That's all we're doing here. You obviously want to populate this with whatever you want. But this should give us 4 options. Yeah, see? So we have a right-click menu with 4 different options now. Now they do nothing because every time I click on the buttons, nothing happens. And since these are procedurally, I'm just going to go with procedurally because that's easier to say. Since these are procedurally generated, we kind of have an issue here. So let's print string. This should work. We should get hello. But the problem is we don't really know what's happening. We don't know which button is being clicked on. So we either need to keep a reference inside the button, so the button tells something else it did something, or we need like an event dispatcher system, or whatever created this needs to keep track of it. So, I don't really know which one's the right way. Give me a second. But I got a question. This is from BJ. Creating a shop system on my game, but it's got many problems and not working good, so do you know how to make? I have not created a shop system. I haven't created a shop system, honestly, no. I don't know what the specific issue you're having is. Feel free to ask the specific problem you might be having, or where you might be stuck. Someone in chat may be able to help, or I may be able to help with a specific problem. But I've never made it a shop system before. It doesn't seem like it's too difficult. You just got to keep track of a lot of stuff. But we want to make this work. So, event dispatchers is probably the smarter way to do this. Basically, after we add one of these, we can just register. Why not? Let's see if we can do event dispatchers. So we're going to call this one option was clicked. Let's see what happens, shall we? Because I'm actually curious if, how to make this work generically. So we added our child here. So this is nope, this is the child we want here. See, it needs to register. I don't think we can make children register, can we? Because this is going to bind to something. Bind an event. So when it gets called... actually, wait. Yeah, see, so that's not going to work. So we'd have to... It would be in here. Let's see. Bind... So we need to call something back. Can we get our parent? Because it's technically not the parent. It's the right-click UI that's handling this. And I don't want to pass things... If you want a submenu from button 1, do you have to create a new vertical box? Or maybe a new UI? You'd basically have to create a new UI element. You'd have to create a new vertical box. So we'd have something like... we right-click. Here's our menu. We click on here. It then pops out another box in the appropriate selection and makes another submenu. You'd basically... handle this click, which is what we're kind of working on, and then you make another one. Let's see, Harry. Thinking of an event dispatcher on the menu with an index argument, and each option is created with an index variable. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. That signals another dispatcher, also with the index, and the menu just re-signals it. I think I see where you're going there. My biggest question is, how do we get... I'm trying to think of the same stupid way. And hello, Alex. The caller and binder parts for event dispatchers always give my head a little bit of a loop here. It doesn't help that I'm sick, so I'm trying to think this out. Basically, the main menu, our right-click UI. Okay, so, okay. We want something to handle the button being pressed. I guess that's where the question comes in. Something needs to know a button was pressed. So do you have the... button pass information to the player? Do you have the button pass information to the game mode? Do you have the button pass information to the pop-up menu manager? Do you have the button pass information to the UI? I mean, basically the button has to notify something that it was clicked. So I guess there's actually a lot of different options there, because depending on what this menu is for. Yeah, honestly, because it depends on what this menu is for. I don't think you could do it super generically, because you're still going to have to couple the data somewhere. You're still going to have to say this, because, I mean, technically I could go into here and I could have this button do something. It could close the menu. It could quit the game. It could do anything I wanted to. But in this case right here, this is where I'm creating the button. Now I could technically pass in another option here, like what the button does, and then have each button handle it specifically / generically. So the button in here would have a, if I was clicked, switch on enumerator, and then this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Or it could basically say what it's supposed to do and pass that back to the player, and then the player handles the action. Or it could pass it back to the UI right here, and the UI handles the action. I don't honestly think there's an answer here that's proper. The indexing option works. So for example, I would have a, see how it's got an index here that I created? So I would simply pass that index over to the widget. So, you know, we go in here, we make a new variable, and we call this button index. Set this to an integer, set it to editable on spawn. And in this case, we'll just simply print out our button index to show that it's working. We'll go back to our right-click menu. We'll pass in the button index right there. And then when we hit play, now we should be able to see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the buttons know which index we are. So that's easy enough. Yeah, that's not really even a problem there. So that one shouldn't be an issue. But even then, what do we do with that index? We have to tell something that this button was pushed. And technically, honestly, at this point, this is kind of specific to the program. Because is this a list of items? Is this a list of, filed, new, edit, quit, kind of like you have on up here, for example? Is that this stuff? Is it a list of things like this? Is it a list of things like this? They're all individual things, and they're just basically going to do something. I would guess that the smartest thing to do might be whatever creates the right-click menu controls what happens. So in this case, for example, here's our right-click UI, for example. So this could be a right-click UI for editing something. And when it does this, when it creates our menu, it keeps track of things. The thought about this menu was, I want the player to do some bookmarks on the map that he can teleport fast with the right-click menu. Okay, see, so that's super simple. That's actually a good idea if this is just going to be for like that. So let's rename something. We're going to change our right-click menu. We're going to change this to our thus option. Here's a right-click pop-up menu. We're going to change this to our bookmark pop-up menu. So now we know the intention of this. This menu will pop up appropriately, and it'll be for bookmarks. And inside of our bookmark pop-up menu, somewhere in our game, so let's go our game mode. We're going to do it like this. So here's our game mode. Our game mode is going to keep track of our bookmarks. Maybe your map keeps track of it, whatever. But we need somewhere to have our bookmarks. So we're just going to call this bookmarks. We'll call this menu map bookmarks. Map bookmarks. So we'll call it like that. And then we'll do, more than likely you're going to have this as like maybe a struct or something, so you have a name associated with the location. But we'll just put a location here. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. We are going to do a struct, and we're going to call this a bookmark struct. And that's called a bookmark struct. So let's spell that correctly. And we're going to do two variables. We're going to call this one the name, and we'll call this one, since my tab button isn't working, the location. See, now that I have an actual idea of kind of what you're aiming for, I know what we can kind of try to do. So do bookmark structure. This is going to be a bookmark structure, and it's going to be an array of bookmark structures. So we're good there. We are going to, let's pre-populate this. So how you populate it is up to you, but we'll pre-populate this with home, and we'll populate it with store, and we'll populate it with Walmart, because everyone likes Walmart. So this we'll call GameStop on this one. There we go. We can go home and GameStop and Walmart. 100, 100, 100. GameStop is 500, 0, 500, and home is 0. We'll go with 0 for home. So now we have something we can get data from. So we're good there. So now we can go back into our user interface. Let's see, populated. Yep, we're still all good there. It's inside of our pop-up menu here. Right-click option. Where the frick did I put it? Oh, populate. Duh. Okay, so now we know our for loop can change into a for each, because now we have actual data to work with. And we will get our data source. In this case, our data source is going to be in our game mode. So we'll cast to our right-click game mode. We'll make this pure because we know it's going to work. And then we're getting the bookmarks. Bam. And we're going to iterate through all of our bookmarks. So now we have actual data to go through. For each of these, we are going to create a widget. We know the index, so that's boom, button index, super simple. We don't need to format text. We're going to split this, and we're just going to put in our name like that. This we don't need to worry about because once we do the action is where we will worry about that. So that should give us something. So now we have home, GameStop, and Walmart. And you can see our indexes here. So now, whoops, there we go. So now inside of our right click option, when we do something, we know what we're going to do. We're going to get our game mode and we're going to cast that back to our proper game mode. Cast to right click game mode. I'm going to hook this up because why not? It doesn't matter pure or not. And then we need it to do something. So our game mode is going to handle teleporting. So where is our game mode? And you know what? I might as well teleport because that sounds like fun. Let's create a custom event. We'll call this teleport the player. And we are going to get the player. Where's the controller? Player controller. We're going to get the controlled pawn. We're going to try to spell getting the controlled pawn. Oh my gosh. There we go. And then we are going to set the location of the pawn in the world. And we are going to set it based on where we're teleporting to. Now our teleport event needs an index. So this will be the teleport index. We'll call it bookmark index. That would be smarter. It's going to be an integer, which is going to map to that. So we are going to grab our array, and we're going to get that like that. So now we know which array where we're going to get it to. Split that apart. Bam. Bam. Location like that. And we'll set it to teleport so physics don't do anything. We're not going to worry about collision. I have no clue where this is going to teleport us to, by the way. Yeah, and that should be the basics. So we have an event we need to feed an index into. We have an event we can call teleport player. That, what do you know? We have an index we can feed into it. And this might work. I don't know. Let's find out. Right click, go home. Oh, that's where we are now. Go to GameStop. Uh-oh. Go to Walmart. There we go. So now we have a teleport menu that works. We should probably close our menu though. So let's see. Where is this? Is going to be on click. So we need to close our parent. So that is where's that at? It's right here, right? So the right click UI keeps a reference to the pop-up menu. But we can't assume that there's only one pop-up menu. So where are we creating this at? We're creating this in the user interface. So this is one of those issues here. I know how to handle this. I just don't know if Well, this is the method I'm going to handle this with. We have our main menu, which is somewhere. Right here. See, this pop-up reference is only inside of our right-click user interface. Right? The book up pop-up menu. Oh, duh, okay. My brain is literally not functioning right now. I keep seeing right-click UI and keep thinking this is the widget for when we right-click. My brain's not realizing that that is the main menu right there. So, duh. So anyways, what we're going to do is have a custom event inside of our main menu called remove right-click menu. And we already know it's right here. And we're going to go ahead and we'll just steal the code that's right here because I'm lazy. And we'll do that. And we'll figure out where I put it. Okay, it only took me 5 tries to figure that out. So we'll just steal this one right here. So all this is going to do is remove, what do we call it? The pop-up menu. So this is super simple. We already, where do we have a reference to this at? It's in our player character, right? Where did my player character go? Where did my player character go? There he is. We have it right here. We have a player user interface reference right there. So we can always, for example, in our buttons, wherever I hit our buttons at, which is calling the teleport, we just simply get player controller, get the pawn. This might not be the best way of doing this, but we'll make it work basically, so we get the understanding of how it works. And then then I need to get the UI. Holy moly, look at this chain of stuff. And then remove the right click menu. The fact that we have all of this stuff here probably means we're not doing it right. Or not, sorry. Not that we're not doing it right, we're probably not doing the most efficient way. But let's just see if it works. So there we go. So that gets rid of the menu as well. We're basically, after we teleport, after we basically pass the information on the right click, we are grabbing that user interface reference and telling it to remove ourselves. You'd have the menu remove itself from the parent. Well, the problem is, well, we technically do that right here, but the problem is it's the buttons that are calling it. So, and we don't know how deep we are is the problem. That's my biggest issue. I mean, because technically we could probably, I don't think you can get parent. Okay, you can't. See, we could remove from parent, but the problem is this is just going to remove the button if we do that. So it should just remove one button, which isn't going to help us. So we'd have to get the parent. Oh, didn't I get parent already? Get parent. Yeah, so we could technically get the parent and then remove from parent. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, see, so that's not working like I expected. And I mean, could you get the parent and then get the parent again and then keep getting parents and then removing eventually at some point? But the problem is how deep would that have to go? Yeah, see, even that's not working if you just simply get the parent. And then we get double an error because there's too many. We're not getting a valid parent. Yeah, so that's not going to work. Because we have to remember we're inside the button when we call this. I mean, yeah, we're inside the button when we call the click event. Since we're not actually passing this information back to the parent that we were clicked. Because if we pass this back to the parent, then we could have the parent remove itself. And that would probably work. But then the thing I'd worry about is if we manage to do a submenu. So let's say I clicked here and then a submenu dropped up. Would we then show both menus? Kind of like how this one shows both. Like this. Or would we just replace one menu with another menu? And then how would we keep track of multiples? But again, the nice part about this is we're just simply getting something working. That's all that matters right here. We're getting something working. So Mario, this is the, give me a second. I'll go back over everything we did. But I want to clear up chat right now. Alex, I'm trying to access my widget switcher for my character. And I made sure to set the widget access, but I'm getting these annoying errors. What errors are you getting, Alex? You may just not be casting properly is a possibility. But for I can't believe I keep forgetting names here. Mario. So Mario. So this is basically what we did. Let's go ahead and cover what we did, and then I'll go back and clear up chat after we clear up Mario stuff. We have our character. Our character, when it starts up, creates our main user interface. So you know, we have two user interface elements. We have our main menu, or not our main. I keep saying menu, but we have our user interface. It's our canvas to the world, and that's going to be this one right here. And it is literally just a canvas panel. And we need to use a canvas panel because canvas panels are the only panels that give us exact positioning. We wouldn't be able to know we wouldn't be able to place the pop-up menu where we wanted it if we didn't use a canvas panel. But so this is just a blank canvas to write on. So we create that, we keep a reference to it, and then we set up our input mode so we can click. So it's just our basic setup for user interface widget creation. Nothing fancy there. We did create that special event. Didn't we create a special event? Did we not do it in here? Oh, we created it in the main user interface, that's right. But the key here is we keep track of our user interface. Now, the game mode just simply has our little custom event for teleporting. And all it does is grab our index and teleports to that index. And our index is simply, you know, a structure that contains stuff. This is all obviously set up for however you want it, but all we're doing is keeping track of a name for our menu and a location for our teleport. And all we're doing here is whatever one we tell it to, we teleport to. So, you know, super simple on that one. The majority of the code is inside of our user interfaces. So we already went over our made one. It's got nothing really in it. Then we have our pop-up menu and then the options that go inside of our pop-up menu. Our pop-up menu is, well, technically empty because all our pop-up menu does is hold stuff. It's simply a vertical box that I've named pop-up menu box. And there's no other code in here. It's simply, but the key here is it is the parent because you want to make sure it sizes itself properly. It's the container. Inside of the container, we're going to put our options. And our options are literally whatever we want. This could be color-coded. It could be images. It could be just text, whatever you want. But you kind of need a button in here somewhere. We could turn the button down to style is what I meant before I did the wrong thing. I don't want that one. No, I wanted that one, right? Background color. That's what I wanted. You could technically remove the coloring and the alpha from the button, and it'll still work, as you can see here. The key is we need a button in order to get our click event working. So that's important. But it just consists of a button and then some text. Both of these things are variables because the button doesn't need to be a variable technically, but the text does. For the text, I don't like binding, but this is the easiest way of doing this. We bound a variable called input text and made editable and exposable. And we bound that to the text blocks. So that way, whenever we change it, it will make it correct. And then we have another variable called button index, which is exposable as well. So when we create this button, we can tell it what index it is. And then all we're doing when we click on it is telling our game mode to teleport to that index. Now, set text will work. Alex and Harry, I'll cover that in a second. I'll show the other way of doing that. All we do is we're setting our text. Not setting our text. We're teleporting. We're telling our game mode to teleport and passing in that index, and then removing ourselves by telling the UI to remove ourselves. Now going back to the other option that we were just talking about, in our pop-up menu, we have our code in here, which is technically in our overrides, right? Where the frick is my code? Where the hell did I put my code? Okay, I lost my code. There we go. Okay, so our code's inside of our right-click menu. That's what I was trying to get to, and I lost it. This is our remove right-click menu function. All it does is make sure that our pop-up menu is good, and then removes itself. This is inside of our main menu. Our main menu. I keep saying main menu. Our main player user interface. But the two important things are the mouse button down and the populate. The mouse button down, we're basically intercepting mouse button down. You can use the input events as an option, and you could listen for them. But since you only care about the right mouse button, we can always intercept it. It's not really an issue. And we're just doing that by overriding the mouse button down option, which isn't here because we're overriding it right here. And all we're doing is seeing which button was pressed, make sure it's the right mouse button, and then doing something. If it wasn't, we're saying, okay, we did nothing. We don't care about the button being pushed. Go ahead and somebody else can handle it. That's what this does. If it is the right one, we want to remove any existing pop-up we have right now, because that's what this does, because we only want one pop-up on the screen. Creating the new pop-up menu. Remember, the new pop-up menu is just that blank vertical box. Storing a reference to it. adding it to our main interface. So our main UI is adding this new pop-up menu, storing a reference to that right here, which technically we only use this twice, so we don't need to do this, but this is just a way of us not having to do that casting that we showed here. Getting this, casting, not cast, I keep saying casting, slotting as a canvas slot. Because the way this stuff works, in case you always get confused on user interface, you have the item that you created. In order to adjust the properties on the item you created, the sizing, the positioning, you actually talk to the parent. So in this case, we're saying, hey, pop-up menu, let's talk to your parent, which is a canvas slot, and then let's do something. In this case, we're setting the position. And we set the position to wherever the mouse position is at. So that way we get a right click. Remember, by default, and this is kind of important, let's put in our image here. So let's say this is the one we spawn in. Remember, by default, our alignment is 0, 0. That's the top left corner. So that's why when we right click, it shows in the top right. If you want it to be in the middle or the right or anywhere like this when we right click, you would just go ahead and set the alignment after we spawn this in. But by default, it's the top left, which is useful for us. It's actually a good spot. Then we set the auto size, because if we didn't, it would just be whatever size it felt like. Auto size, since we're using a vertical box, means any childs we put in will be the correct size, position, layout. And then we call our populate right click. Now this is what handles our stuff to make sure things on the screen. Grab our bookmarks from our game mode, and we're going to loop through them. Now this is what the question that Alex and Harry was talking about, a set of text block. When we create this widget right here, the expose on spawn options right here, those options are only going to apply to variables that we have created. You cannot expose widgets. It's just a limitation of blueprints. So there's no way I could say, for example, this text right here, which is a widget right here, there's no way I could say expose this and then let me do something on spawn. It just, if you click on it and you go expose, it literally will not let you do it. It's just a limitation. So we're simply binding that text node like we showed and setting it right here. The other option, if you don't want to do that, is after you've created your widget, you could get your, what the hell do we call that? This text, right? Yeah. You could always get this text and then you could set the text on it. So we could do that and then set it to, you know, this value right here. This right here will work just the same as what we did here. Both of them will work. Yes, but can't you set the text of the widget on the construct event? What text? On what widget? I guess, Harry, that would be what I need clarification on. When we're creating this option widget, you can't, you could pass in the text. So for example, and you're saying on the construct event, I think I might see where you're trying to get at. Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. I think you're saying on the construct, which I friggin' hate, that's not at the top. I think, oh my god. I think you mean do this and then go like this. I'm guessing you're saying try that? No, widgets have construct events. My only concern is I don't know which is going to fire. I don't know if my variable being set is going to fire before this or after this. But we can find out. I think this is what you're asking about. So let's find out. Let's go back into here. Let's go back into our text. Let's unbind this. So now it's set to just this text. Let's hit play. Let's right click. Okay, it looks like it works. It looks like that works as well. So basically what his suggestion was, rather than passing that in and then inside of here binding it, we simply pass it in, and then once this is constructed, we go ahead and set it to that value we passed in, which looks like it does work. So we'll leave it like this, actually. So we'll leave it like this. Whether it works in a production game, whether it works all the time, I'm not going to guarantee it. I literally don't know the event order of operations for constructing. Because you have to keep in mind, we are creating this, and then it calls construction. So does it create it, put these values in, and then call the construct event? That's what it looks like it's doing. But what if it was, for example, creating it, calling this event, and then setting the variables? Then we'd have an issue. But it looks like it's working fine. So we'll go with this. So that was a good that was an idea that seems like it worked. We just hope it worked is all we can do. So we can get rid of this part right here. Okay, so again, looping through all of our bookmarks, creating a widget, passing in the name and the index to that widget. So each button will know what it should be called, and will know in the map array which one it refers to, which location. And then we're adding those things after we create them to our vertical box. And that's, yeah, that was all the code. Yep, that's all the code there. So hopefully that was helpful. Oh, I swear to God, I can't remember anyone's names today. Mario, sorry. Hopefully that was helpful, Mario. There's a basic right-click menu. Obviously, you can customize it, skin it, and make it do what you want. But that's the basic process. The basic process is creating some widgets, having those widgets do something. And you will end up with multiple widgets. The reason we did it this way is because our options right here can be styled however we want. So we can make them look like whatever we want. And it allows us to add as many of those as we want into our pop-up menu. So our pop-up menu, for example, isn't built with 4 of them, and we can only ever have 4. This allows us to create it programmatically and then go from there. Wandered. I've never used binds and hello. Okay, yep, hello. Binds are something you probably shouldn't use. I didn't want to use it. I just figured it was the easy and lazy way of doing it. But binds basically allow you to assign a variable or a property, basically. So it's a variable to something. So for example, if we wanted this variable here to say, blah, then basically if we bind it, that variable, anytime that variable changes, this text will change. The problem is it basically checks for it every frame, and it becomes a lot less productive. It uses more resources by checking every frame. So you don't really want to use binds. I did see your question, BJ, and I think I saw a question from Alex because he's asking me again. So let's see if I can scroll back and look for stuff. I saw your question about I'm trying to access your widget switcher from your character, and you keep getting the access none error. Access none means basically that it doesn't exist. So without seeing your code, I really couldn't guess. But that basically means, hey, you're trying to do something and that something isn't there. You're trying to talk to an apple, but there's no actual apple. If you want to screenshot what you have, I could try to take a look at it. Other than that, whatever is calling that thing, just make sure that thing is being set. You could always put a breakpoint on your code. So like in this case, where'd it go? Here, when I was removing from the parent and it was saying none, I could always F9 to breakpoint. Next time it comes through, check and see if your target says something other than none. So in this case, if we look here, we'll see that my target's an actual pop-up menu and doesn't say none. You can send me an email via the YouTube About channel. You can, I'm in the Discord chat. You could paste a screenshot in here, for example. So there's a few different ways. And BJ, I did see a question from you. I know you didn't see me see it. I'm trying to stop getting sidetracked in the middle of something, because I've noticed that tends to make the video a little bit harder to watch. So I'm trying to see if I can like stick to one topic before I get distracted. Let's see. So his question: he's created 2 options of clothes for the player to choose. Basically, these clothes are different materials for the mannequin. The game has coins. The error comes when the player buys. I need to make a system that when the player buys for the first time, he can't buy it again. Okay, that makes sense. So I've got a question in regards to that, BJ. How are you keeping track of the clothes? For example, do we have an array somewhere that contains all of the clothes that they can buy? Or do we have a listing? I mean, basically somewhere you have to keep track of the clothes that you can buy. So for example, let's close these down so I don't screw these ones up again. Do we have a variable and we'll call clothes? Is this an array of, for example, something? I'll just call mine text. But do we have an array, for example, of like blue shirt and red shirt? Do we have an array somewhere that defines our clothes? If so, then just remove the entry and they can't buy it again. Only show them the one thing. If you always intend on showing them both of them, then we could set it up with a struct and use a bool to keep track of whether you bought it or not. So it's kind of how is your clothes structured, which is funny. And have fun, Alex. Have a good rest of your day. So for example, I'll go to the next one right now while we're waiting. We can have a clothes struct. And then we'll call this here, and we'll call this clothes. And then this one, oh, actually we should probably sort that like that. And then is purchased. We'll call this one a text like that. Boom, close that. And we'll call this one the text close, because I want to delete it. We'll call this one struct close. This is just multiple ways of doing the same thing, obviously. Close structure, set it up as an array, there we go. We'll add 2 things in here. We'll call this one blue shirt. We'll call this one red shirt. Like that. Good morning, Sterling. So now we have a structure that keeps track of our clothes and if we bought it. So for example, if you're going to, we'll just use print string because we can. We'll grab this and we'll do a for each. And we'll go through here, whoops, and we will split this. We're going to do a print string. And let's do a pin. And we'll do an add pin. And we'll do can buy. We'll do that. And then we'll do another one right here. I'm just thinking, and of course changing everything in the middle of thinking. So we'll go red shirt, dash, space, can buy, colon, and then the answer. We'll pop that into there. And, okay, so that's that. We will open up a new map. We'll grab this in here. We'll hit play. And now you can see, well, I guess this should be called purchased. Is purchased. Because that was technically what it was. And let me change my print string here also to 10 seconds. Okay, so now we have a struct that tells us red shirt is purchased false, blue shirt is purchased false. And if we were to go through here, so let's say after we print it out on the string, we're just going to delay, we'll actually, word, seriously. Okay, grab our structure, here we go. And we'll get the first one. and then we're going to set array element of the first one, and we're going to set this to Sakabra, I'm just trying to answer a question of how to handle preventing things from being purchased more than once for clothing. I'm just trying to whip up a quick example. So in this case, screw it. You know what? Let's make a full-blown user interface because we can. Because this is always fun. Close UI. Yeah, give me a second here. We'll make a little buying selling thing. That's create player, not create widget. That's not how you spell create either. Okay, so this will be close UI. We'll add this to the viewport. This, by the way, having to redo this over and over is why in my primary example project I have a macro for this. So I just can call it once. Set input. This is one case where when you start doing stuff like this, set up macros or function libraries. I literally have no idea if I pronounced it right. If I did, that is awesome. And hello, Amsanity. Why would you not expect a voice reply? I've got nothing else to do but to see what we can do to help people. Okay, so there we go. I've got my mouse working. Let's go to our user interface. And BJ, after I get this basic stuff set up, I'll show you how I did it, just like I showed Mario. So if you're not quite catching everything or I'm speeding through it, because be honest here, I tend to do it when I start getting it in the flow, I will definitely stop and explain everything once we're done, and probably explain it way more than once. So yeah. So let's see. User interface. We're just going to make this really generic. We are going to have a vertical box somewhere in here. Let's center it in the middle. 0.5 and 0.5. Let's make it size to content. Let's reset everything because it hates me. Let's see, we're going to need buttons. And let's see, we're going to need a name. Oh, okay, so it looks like we're going to do this pretty much the exact same way we did the other one. Inventory box. Yep. I think I know what we're going to do. Make this super simple. Well, as super simple as I can expect myself to make it. So we're going to make another one, and we're going to call this widget blueprint, and this will be our close. Screw it. We're not going to go close. We'll call it inventory item box. Just screw it. Inventory item. Okay, so what do we want our inventory item to look like? Well, I'm going to go with a horizontal box for sure. And then I'm thinking we're going to need a button to buy it and some text to describe it. So we'll put some text in here and we'll put a button next to it. And don't worry about the way things look, because if we go back to this, it'll show us exactly what we want, which is that. Let's give us some padding on the right-hand side, about 25. We're going to put some text in our button. We're going to call that text buy. And let's center that. Whoops. Fill left and right, center up and down. Yeah, like that. Okay. Let's give our text a little bit of breathing room. So we'll give it 10 breathing room like that. There we go. We'll go with something like that. And like Harry showed us, we don't need to bind to our text. So we'll make a new... first of all, let's rename... No, I don't need to rename that. Yeah, we need to... what do we need to rename? We need to rename this. So this will be our description text. And then we have a new variable called input text. I like to use input and output because it lets me remember what it is. We'll make that editable and exposable. We're basically going to do kind of what we just did for Mario, which is really funny. Wait. Yeah, we're going to do pretty much what we did for Mario, which is actually kind of cool. Okay, so begin play, which is good. That means we already know half the stuff we're going to do. Grab our description text, set our text in here. like that. And then we should be able to drag this into here like this. And we'll keep them crossed because why not? And there we go. So now the text should be proper. We obviously don't have it doing anything, but we're going to work on that now. So here's our UI, which has our inventory box, which will fill up. So here's our blueprint. So our blueprint, we're going to think of our blueprint as our shopkeeper. So he is going to keep our shop in order when we open and close things. So by default, I'm just going to have him open the inventory when we start, and he's going to keep the actual inventory. And we're going to go with that structure because I like the structure version because it gives me what I want. And we don't, you know what? Screw it. We are making a friggin' basic buy-sell system here. So this would be an inventory item. We'll call it inventory item for our structure. We'll give ourselves a new variable. We'll call this cost. And we'll put it up here. Cost is going to be an integer because no one likes change. So this is going to be the description, what it costs, and if you purchased it. So we'll go with that. Make it super simple. Because I know BJ did mention cost, so that would probably be smart if I put that in here too. So we'll go ahead and edit our text block. We'll need another text in here. So we'll copy and paste, move it up here. Boop. Now we have another text. Name, well, this one will be the cost text. So we'll call it cost text. And then we need to do the same thing we did before. Go to our graph, add another variable. Now we are duplicating, we have two of these, we need to rename these. So we'll call this cost text. We'll spell cost text properly the second time. We'll change input text to description text. I really wish these pop-ups wouldn't hide things when I do it. Oh crap, I already have something called description text. And I have something called cost text. That's why it didn't let me do it. Okay. Input description text. Input cost text. There. Now it can't complain about things being duplicated. Grab our cost text. Set our text. If anyone can guess exactly what we're about to do right now, you've been paying attention. All right, there we go. Now we've set up our cost text and our input, our description text. In theory. Now we still have it broken. I didn't expose this one. Always got to make sure we look for those little guys. Now I should be able to set both of them. Now we can go back to our interface for buying clothes, and let's populate our friggin' interface at this point in time. Now I'm going to have to go back to the beginning, since it's turned into something more than I was planned. Grab my level blueprint code here, because we're going to need to keep track of this. Pull it out of our blueprint. Put it into our merchant. Go back into here. Rename our merchant to merchant, because that makes more sense to me. And then we're going to call this one widget blueprint player UI, because that makes more sense to me. Which technically this wouldn't be the player UI, this would be the merchant UI. So let's rename that again. And hello, Kazi Mikazi. Okay, and I gotta stop hitting the stupid save button. Hold on a second. Oh, I call this one buy clothes. There we go. Merchant map. Okay. Look at that. We've gone from something basic to something not basic. Because why not? Okay. Let me stop clicking on stuff. Let me close my stuff. And let's figure out where we're at now. So let's save everything. So now we have a merchant. Our merchant's going to pop up our inventory. So let's go to our merchant and set that up. We have it set up. So now our inventory should show. Now that we have our inventory showing, we need to populate the inventory. We're going to have our merchant handle all of that stuff. So we'll make a new function and we'll call this one populate inventory. We already have a user interface reference somewhere, which I didn't actually keep. So let's fix that. Let's promote the variable. We'll call this one store. We'll call it store UI reference. And that makes it easier. Bloop, bloop, unhook it, bloop it up. Fix the non-bloopage. There we go. Okay, Kazume, I will get to that one hopefully soon. And hello, Jonathan. I had someone ask how to basically have a basic merchant where they could buy something, but only buy it once. And we went from showing how to do that to basically making an entire merchant to show that. So I'm basically making a merchant where you can buy stuff. That's what it looks like. That's what it seems like I'm making right now. We'll figure that out in a second. Okay. We have our user interface, so we're good here. We don't need to touch this anymore. I need to stop going back here. We need our merchant to display something. We created an inventory item with some variables, so let's add those inventory items to our user interface. So grab our store interface. We're going to get the vertical box, wherever it's hiding at in here. What did I call it? Inventory box. Here we go. And this will be the box where we add all of our stuff. We're going to add a child here. We're going to add in our widget you got to create. I always forget you have to create these things before you add them. I literally do this every time and then have to go back here and create a widget. Like every time. What was that? Inventory item. So we'll add an inventory item like this. Boop, just like that. Okay. We need a text and a cost. Now, where are those at? What do you know? Our merchant has them, so that makes it super simple. And this is going to be our loop again. So we'll loop through this for each. Oops, I'm going to stop dragging. There we go. So now we'll have all. I cannot click today. Split our struct. We have our description. Oh, look, we have a spot for a description. Oh, look, we have a spot for a cost. That makes it super simple. We should probably pass in purchased, so I will actually do it like this, and then we'll go back and do that, because why not? Let's hit play and see what happens. Nothing. Why does nothing happen? Hopefully someone knows why nothing happened while I read some chat. Okay, yes. So, Amsanity, because I'm going to go with Amsanity because I can't pronounce it properly again. Is trying to help out Kazume, so that's awesome. So hopefully they help each other out. For anyone who was wondering why this didn't work, we have a function, but like normal, I never actually call the function because I tend to forget about that stuff. So let's actually call the function. And now we have something? Yes, we have something. We have an inventory that looks like crap, but we have an inventory. This is just user interface layout stuff, so we don't have to worry about this. The smart thing would be to put this all in a uniform grid panel and then have 3 different columns, basically. But I'm not going to do that. Or my OCD will get a hold of me and I will do it. We'll figure out which one wins here in the end. But we have an interface. Let's go back into our struct here. Let's give ourselves some values so we can make sure this works. So we'll give ourselves 100 for that one and 200 for that one. Hit play. Cool. So we know everything's working. Our buttons don't do anything, but we know everything's working. So what I'm thinking is... I'm thinking... What am I thinking? How do we indicate that these are already purchased? We have we can keep track of it, but how do we indicate that they're already purchased? I will not make the buy mode... Oh, I mean, I'll disable the buy button. So that's super simple on that one. Screw it. I'll just disable that one right now. We'll go from there. Yep. So I will just disable the button. So where is my button? So we're going to need to be able to have our inventory item do stuff. We're going to have to be able to talk to it, and we're going to have to be able to have it do stuff. We're going to need our click event. So let's set up our click event right now. And this is going to have to tell our merchant that something happened. So how do we have it tell the merchant? Because if we have multiple merchants, we need to make sure we have the correct merchant. This is where we go back to that stupid event dispatcher crap. Which, it's not crap, it's just so... It's more difficult than I think it should be because... because I tend to have issues with it. Okay, so let's try this. Let's try putting the event dispatcher inside of the button. Button was clicked. And we'll have the parent listen for each of its buttons is what we're going to do. So when they click the button, we're going to call button was clicked. That's what we're going to do here. This should be pretty simple, actually. Now that I think about this, this should be pretty simple. And we're going to call this one our index. Yeah, I think we're on the right track here. Here's our merchant right here. We need a inventory index. We'll call it like that. And that one should be a integer as well. So we'll call that right there. And we'll make this one editable and exposed. So we're good there. We will pass this back to our parent, basically. So we'll do that. So we should be good there. We'll go back to our merchant. Our merchant should now have a spot for an index. So it's our index right here. This is starting to get a little bit funky, but I'll clean this up in a second. So now we have an index. So now after we create each of these widgets, we should be able to... damn, I don't know where the... I'm going to have crossed wires here, so... I'm just going to have crossed wires. I don't really have anything I can do there. There we go. So, can I sign? Oh, stop it. Yeah, bind event, but I'm inside of a stupid function, so... Oh, this is not going to work, is it? Oh yeah, okay, never mind, we can do that. Okay. Wow, I always forget you have to do it this way. I don't have a function in here, so we'll do this one. And create event, and oh, for... You seriously? Custom, thank you. But handle, by button clicked. That's what I'm trying to do, and it's failing miserably here. There we go. Back to here. Right, I know you can do this. Now it's not going to cooperate. Do I need to do a new... Nope. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. I can probably do this. Don't mind the flailing around, just because I'm flailing around everywhere. Oh, do I have to create a delegate event? Oh. Yeah, this should have worked. Oh, but it probably doesn't match the signature. I'm curious if that's what it is. Hold on a second. Bear with me on this one. Yeah, well, my biggest issue with this one, yeah. So I'm trying to get around referencing things outside of this merchant. That's my biggest one right here. Yeah, Harry, that's what my thought as well. It needs the same signature. I don't use delegate event dispatchers enough, but for the conversation that's going in chat, there's lots of different ways to do what I'm doing. Like, for example, in the example for Mario, I use the game mode and the player to pass information back and forth. Since this is a blueprint right here, and I want this blueprint to handle things, I mean, technically I could pass a reference to the person who the merchant. I could create a chain of events all the way through. But if I do this with event dispatchers, I don't have to, and that's my intention here. So there's lots of different ways of doing things. This is just the way I'm trying to do it here, which is obviously going swimmingly well, as we can see here, because I keep forgetting to do things one way or another. This one's the inventory I don't know if it needs the exact same, does it need the same names or just the same variable types? I guess we'll figure that one out. Okay, there we go. It just needed the same variable type signatures. Okay, so that's going to call the inventory index. This should call this one. And then let's see if this works. I don't know, let's find out. Oops, apparently my inventory didn't get created. That's super duper. What did I break? Oh, am I in a new? Nope, I'm in the same map. Well, that was friggin' awesome. Apparently I broke something. What did I forget to hook up? Oh, yeah, it would help if I actually hook the rest of the wires up. There we go. Okay, see, so there we go. So now we have this widget telling the merchant what they're trying to buy. Yep. So in case anyone's wondering, because they're not seeing chat, there is a nice discussion going on how to do all of this. Talking to a central object, keeping a reference chain. For example, my merchant tells the inventory it's the merchant, then the inventory tells the button about the merchant, and then the button would know when it's pressed who the merchant is, and it could talk back to the merchant. So yeah, there's lots of different ways of doing it. We're just going to go with event dispatchers because I feel like doing that, and I don't work enough with them in order to get accustomed to them. But basically what's happening is this button has an event inside of it called button was clicked. Anybody can talk to that button and be notified whenever this event happens. So what we're doing is having the merchant, when it creates that button, it listens, it binds itself to that button, and it says, okay, well, when this happens, tell me about it. That's what we're doing here. So that way, whenever a button's pressed, it's going to tell whoever's listening, hey, I was pushed, and this was my index of what was pushed. And then the merchant's going to go, cool. Well, I know you did that, and then I'm going to do something. So what it's going to do is it's going to process the buy transaction. So we need a way to process a buy transaction. Let me finish. Now that we know this works, wait. Why did I just simply called it custom event. That's fantastically named. That's actually stupidly named. Handle by button pressed, because that's even better named. Why not? There we go. Handle by button pressed. I'm gonna finish the user interface first, because right now technically if we buy something we can't tell it's already been bought. So I'm going to fix that right now. And the nice thing is it's really simple. We'll go into our merchant. Oh, that's not the right one. Our item, which is here. And then we're going to gray out the buy button. We're going to disable the buy button if we purchase something. So if we go back to our merchant, we have this option here. We'll just do an if check. And then actually we don't. You know what? Let's just use our construct script. We're using our construct script for everything else. So why don't we just use that for everything? And by construct script, I mean this right here. So we'll make a new variable because we like variables. And we're going to call this one is purchasable. And we're going to boolean that one. And then we're going to find our button right here. And we're going to set enabled to if it's purchasable. Like this. Boop, boop. Now, okay, I need to rename button 0 because that's starting to annoy the hell out of me. We'll call it buy button because that's what it is. There we go. So now the buy button has a proper name. Now if it's purchasable, it's enabled. So nothing should change. Oops. Let's rephrase that. Nothing should change if I properly passed in the variable. So again, make sure we can see our eyeball here. That was just silly. And then pass in our value here, because by default it's false. Now nothing should, for fuck's sake. I'm going to call shenanigans on this one. Let's see what I did wrong, because everyone literally saw that working, right? Yup. Okay, let's set our default to true. Can we close this? And nope. Okay. Oh my lordy. Okay, so a +1 to everyone who's figured out what I did wrong here. No, definitely not going to flip over the table. But if anyone can figure out what I'm doing wrong here, it's literally working exactly like it should. We don't have where we never created our design document, so the person who implemented our structure, we'll call him Barry, didn't follow the same instructions that we'll call John when he created the widget. So Barry has a boolean called isPurchased, and John has a variable called isPurchasable. And we'll blame Barry and John for not communicating very well here because they just screwed everything up. So we need to fix that. So we technically only want to keep everything purchasable by default. And then we want to, if it's been purchased, not allow it. So we'll fix it in the widget. So we'll call this isPurchased. So we actually follow our design document properly. And then we just can simply not this one. Like this. So if it's not purchased, we're going to go and want to enable it. So now we can play, and now we have workable buttons. So we need to fire Barry and John, and we need to get some proper training in here and get an actual design document team running. Okay, so let's pass this through, and there we go. So now we're good. Now we should have proper stuff. We can verify this by going into our structure, wherever I hit it at, our structure of clothes, and tell them we've purchased our red shirt, and then hit play, and now we can't buy our red shirt. So we're good. So now we have the ability to enable and disable things. We can't buy them yet, but we have our basics of what BJ was looking for. We should probably finish the actual buying stuff part. So let's find our buying stuff part. And I'm just going to let you buy whatever you want. So we're going to get the item they want to buy right here. And then we're going to set an array element, which is right here. And it's going to be this one. And then the item we're going to set, oops, this is the array, boom, like that. And the item we're going to set is going to be the description, the cost, and then we purchase the item. And then we need to refresh the user interface. So that's kind of an issue. Blah, 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 blah. So I can manually talk to the widgets and refresh them, or we could just redo the entire friggin' thing. And I'm leaning towards that one because that would be super simple. And we're not exactly talking about a giant setup here. This is not the proper way of doing this, but this is the way I'm going to do it. So hopefully everyone understands that statement. So when we populate the inventory, what we're doing is we're adding stuff to our inventory box right here. What we're going to do is simply grab our inventory box, clear out all the children. Oops. Type the word clear children. Still, there we go. And by default, when we populate our inventory, we are going to empty the inventory first. So this will allow me to simply go back here and populate our inventory after we've done a purchase. So now we should be able to, we'll fix our structure since we were testing. Now we should be able to buy something and you see that it grays it out. So again, not the most efficient way by clearing out our inventory, our user interface and repopulating it. The proper way would probably be to, especially since we know which children we're working with, we could always grab that child again and simply update the child instead of the whole thing. But for this example, I mean, those are all specifics to each project, so shouldn't really spend too much time. But this does accomplish our goal. And the nice thing is, for example, we could easily go in here and we could just add another piece of clothing, and we'll call this one our Hawaiian shirt. And I highly doubt I spelled Hawaiian right. Hawaiian shirt. Oh, but I can't spell Hawaiian shirt, so we'll just call this one a polo shirt. And we'll call, this one's only 10 because it's cheap. We hit play, and now we should have 3 items. And of course, we can buy them. Nothing saves out properly. We didn't implement saving. Saving is really simple, though. You have a structure here for your clothes that has some values in it. So as long as you properly save and reinitialize the structure, when you create your interface, then your things will stay. So let me start over from the beginning and go over what we have created here. We have a map that does stuff. Let me save everything. We have 4 things that we care about here. We have an array of inventory items. So this could be whatever you want, full of whatever you want. But our keys for our purposes are, we have is purchased. This is basically keeping track of if it's purchased or not. That's important for this example. Inside of our merchant, we have a couple different events. Let me close that one. We don't need that one. We have our beginning, which simply creates our user interface. Normal stuff, basically adding our user interface, keeping a reference to it, setting our input mode, and then setting show cursor. The important part after we begin play, because this is when we talk to our merchant, for example, is we populate our inventory. Populate our inventory is pretty simple. We clear out our existing inventory because we're going to make sure we refresh it, basically. We grab all of our, so technically I need to change this to struct inventory. We grab our inventory. Now this could be wherever you want it, but this is basically our inventory. And we're going to go through our inventory and add it to our inventory interface. In this case, we're creating an inventory widget, which takes in the description, the cost, the index of our array, and then if it's purchased or not. We bind an event to button was clicked. This is a special event inside of the button that tells us if it was clicked or not. And we listen for that. After that, we add the child that we just created to the vertical box, and then we repeat because we're looping through each of our items. So this basically loops through our items, creates our widget based on the items in our loop, listens for the click, and then adds that item to our box. When we click on something, so if we pull up our inventory here, our item, when we click on something, it simply uses an event dispatcher that we created called button was clicked and passes the index that we gave it when we created this button. And it just simply says, hey, anybody listening to me, I was clicked on. In this case, it's going to be our merchant because our merchant was listening. It wants to know which item you pointed at and said buy. When we create this interface, this inventory item, remember we passed in our information here. So we're simply taking that information and using it to set up our description, our cost, and whether or not you've purchased it or not. And all we're doing when you purchased it is disabling the buy button. You could change the text color. You could write the word purchased. Like for example, you know what? I'm going to do that. Actually, I was trying to think of a good way of doing this, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's grab our cost text here, and we're going to is purchased. So we're going to grab is purchased. We're going to branch. The smarter way would be to put this on a switch up earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and branch this because switches tend to annoy people. I use them way too much, but they're fun. Input cost text. No, not input cost text. Cost text. Set text. Boom, like that. And if this is been purchased, then we are going to set the text on cost text to PUR. PUR. So now, in theory, it should change to purchased. And you've showed that we've purchased it. So, again, really small and simple. Change, but it makes it, looks good. But again, that was just to point out that you can literally do whatever you want to make it look the way you want. Back into our merchant, once we've been clicked on, well, this told it to handle the buy button pressed. So we go back into here. We created a custom event called handle buy button pressed. Like Harry pointed out, and like I always forget, when you're using an event dispatcher, inside of our button, that's not the button, inside of our button, our event that we're calling, our event dispatcher, has a signature of an index. The signature is basically the identifying marks. Its identifying mark is, if we look over where the hell it went to, event dispatcher, is right here. This is a signature. It needs an integer input. It can be called whatever you want, but it takes in, this function takes one integer. So when we're inside of our merchant, we need an event that takes one integer. If we were to, for example, this is the issue we ran into before. If we wanted, for example, this to do something, we don't have do something as an option. This would have to have an integer to become valid for in here. Once we change that signature, it's no longer valid. So that's really important for that one. So when we handle the button press, all we're doing is saying, hey, Mr. Inventory, let's go ahead and get you based on what they pushed. So red shirt, blue shirt, polo shirt. And go ahead and set yourself again inside of our inventory as the same description, same cost, but item is purchased. Now, technically, you could even change the item cost after they purchased. It's something else. You could do whatever you want. This is obviously, whatever you want. And technically, we could even change the way this all works in here, but I don't really want to. I like setting up like this. But, yeah. So we basically change it inside of our array and then populate the inventory again. So refresh our screen. Technically, if we renamed this to refresh inventory, it would make more sense, but yeah, the word populate I already wrote. Takes too much time to rename something. Too much work. But that should be it. So hopefully that helped, BJ. Hopefully that showed you everything. Again, I went through everything multiple times and hopefully it was slow enough. And it's on the it'll be on the replay in a little bit. But it's been an hour and 58 minutes at this point. Unfortunately, I think I want to say there was one more question. I don't know if I can get to it. There was a lot of talk on event dispatchers in here. Let's see, Cosme. Oh my god. I know Cosme had the question. I just gotta find it. Oh wait, no. Wait, I think Cosme actually got helped out with other people about the two different attacks. Let's see. Random behavior, something like a sequence, the randomizing tax, and then a selector with the different attacks. Yeah, okay. I think Cosme got a good answer on that one. His question was, how do you create random behavior in the behavior tree? Say we have two attacks, we choose randomly, and the suggestion was you can make a test that sets which task. You could make a test that sets which task to use next. You could use a random int and range node to make it random. So for example, you could make something like a sequence connected to a randomizing and then selector with attacks. Okay, so it looks like Cosme actually got some help during the conversation. So that's good. And Harry, it looks like he's finally getting his tank pathfinding not to be stupid, which is good. I'm glad to hear that. If you get something that you're proud of, feel free to post it in like the Discord chat, or post it to me on Discord, or post it in chat for everyone to look at. I always like seeing when things start working out. But at this point, it has been 2 hours. I think we got good stuff accomplished. This was kind of cool making the basic inventory here. So hopefully it helped out. I kind of went a little bit overboard, but why not? It showed some cool stuff. We're going to wrap up for the day. It is Friday, which means 2 days of no stream. Monday, I will be back approximately 10 o'clock. Depending, again, on what everyone's working on, I'm more than happy to help out. The goal today was to work on 4.15 stuff. I managed to get none of that done, so good work, everybody. And I mean that sincerely. That means that people actually had questions that they hopefully got help with. I much rather do that than other stuff, because I can do the other boring stuff on my own time. So yeah, it was good. Here, I'll post the invite. Join.unrealslackers.org. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why. By default, YouTube doesn't allow you to post URLs, and it's really annoying. I wish you could, but it doesn't let you. But hopefully that showed up for everybody. For Discord, I hang out in there, and there's a bunch of other people, and it's a cool place to hang out. Just don't get offended. That's all I can say. I could be on that. Well, that's good. So I could be reached on the Discord channel. I can be reached on Twitch, Beam, YouTube. In the YouTube About section is my email address and the URL for the blueprints for the stuff I usually try to work on. I'm pretty sure I said everything. Other than that, well, it looks like BJ's got one question. So let me wrap this up. Then I'll answer the question, and then I will finish the stream. So other than that, hopefully everyone has a good day or good rest of their whatever. Again, I'll be back Monday approximately 10 o'clock. That's 2 hours before now. This archive should go up on YouTube in a little bit and on Beam and Twitch. Now, BJ's question. One more of the last of the day. How do I hide my mouse cursor again without clicking the screen to disappear? So, if you want to hide your mouse cursor, we already know where did my stupid startup thing go. Here we go. So, showing the mouse cursor is this. Setting your input mode is this. So, the input mode is what basically tells the game to allow your mouse to click on UI elements. That's basically what this one's for. The input mode for game only is what tells it to go back to the game. Now, I'm guessing the problem you're having is when you either hide the mouse cursor, you still don't have control of your character, or you're trying to hide the mouse cursor. What you'd want to do when you get it back is you basically want to do... seriously, do I have to click on the stupid... I'm going to have to pull up... Hold on a second. Here we go. You're basically going to want this hooked up like this. So we set it back to game mode or game in the UI. No longer show the mouse. And then set focus to game viewport. This is a node they added a couple versions ago. This is what basically tells your game to have the input again. So you string these three nodes together and it should work. So hopefully that'll help you there, BJ. Other than that, yeah, Discord's a chat program. It's basically, you could think of it as IRC, but with a history that is persistent, which is really nice. Plus, you can subcategorize things like that. To make it super simple in one line, it's a place where a crap ton of people hang out and talk about Unreal and other stuff. That's the easiest way. Vaso, can you write task name of daily work? If you mean in terms of for the stream and stuff like that, I'm going to work on trying to put it in the archive. That's the best I can do now. I work on lots of different stuff. But that's pretty much going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and mute the stream here for about 30 seconds so I don't just disappear. Everyone have a good rest of their day.